In today's video, we're going to be going through a classic FizzBuzz interview type question on Edabit. I'll post a link to this challenge in the description below, and if you want to try it out before watching mine, go for it. Post in the comments how you did and see if you beat me. Anyway, let's get right into it. Now, the basics of FizzBuzz here. We got, if it's a multiple of 3, are you going to be passed in n, or a number of some sort, an integer, right? So we want to check if it's a multiple of 3, we should be returning fizz. If it's a multiple of 5, we want to return just buzz. If it's a multiple of both 3 and 5, i.e. 15, we want to return FizzBuzz. And if it's a multiple of neither, in their example 4 or 100 and whatever, you know, uh, it should return just that number back. Looks like as a string. Easy enough, right? So let's get right into it. Or yes, here we go. The output should always be a string if it's not a multiple of 3 or 5. Okay, so cool. Let's head over to the code tab and get started. Now, first thing, there's a couple different methods you could use to approach this. I'm going to use if statements because that's what I like personally. They're easy to me. They're clean. No trouble there. So let's start by talking about how you can um, check to see if a number is a multiple of another, right? So we know 10 is a multiple of 5, right? We know that because we can do 10 divided by 2. One way to check this in your code, though, is using the mod operator, which is essentially remainder division. So 10 divided by 2, or sorry, 10 divided by 5 in remainder division is 2 with a remainder of 0. That way we know if there's no remainder, or if you don't want to use remainder, you're going to say there's no decimal, there's nothing after the decimal place, we know that it's an even division and we know it's a multiple. So let's get started with an if statement, right? So let's check it if, let's start, what are we doing, 3 and 5? We'll start with 3, 5, and then both. Or actually, we'll start with both first. So we want to check that our integer n, classic, is divisible by 3 cleanly, nothing extra. So we'll do a n mod 3 is equal to 0 as one of our conditions, right? So what we're asking here is please divide n by 3 and tell us if there's anything left over. If it's 0, then we know they're divisible cleanly, and yeah, we should be outputting potentially fizz and potentially FizzBuzz, right? They're multiples of each other. Cool. So now let's do an and. We'll check both in this first round of if. Let's check to see if it's divisible by 5 cleanly. And if it is, we're going to want to go ahead and do this, right? So now we're saying it's divisible by 3 and it's divisible by 5. We know we checked both. It's clean. Cool. So let's go ahead and do a return of FizzBuzz because that's what it wants. Semicolon and it off. All right. Let's throw an else if. So in our first if statement, we check to see is it both. So what we're saying here is if it's not both, it could potentially be either one or none. So first let's check to see if it's either one, right? We'll start with 3. So we'll check to see, is it divisible by 3 again? Um, if it is, we can do this little piece of magic right here. Right? Easy enough, we're using the same conditions. Let's return just fizz if it is. And this works because we know it's not divisible by both. Now let's throw another one on there, else if. Let's check for 5 is equal to 0, there. And now we'll say, well, if it's divisible by 5, we want to return just buzz. Cool, easy enough. Now, but what about the case where it's neither? Well, at this point, we've already checked that it's not both, it's not 3, and it's not 5, so it must be none. We'll return just but we need it to be a string, so we're going to use this nice function from Java, string.valueof. If I can type it, there we go. And then we'll input n right there. And oh, see, this is what happens when I don't code with an IDE. I forget semicolons. Perfect. Now that looks pretty clean. We're checking both conditions. We're checking 3, we're checking 5, and we're saying if there's none, if it doesn't match any of them, just return the string back. Let's see what that does. Now, I'm already seeing a way I can potentially improve our time on this. So let me go ahead and throw this time in a notepad real quick. This is our so that's 35 milliseconds. Not too bad, or about 36 milliseconds. I think I have a way we can make this a little tiny bit faster. And it involves variables, right? So before we get any if statements going, let's make them variables. So let's start with, so I can just do some booleans here. Just one moment. All right, now we're back. Cool. So let's take a look, right? Let's start with making a boolean. Let's just do is multiple of 3. That's a bit long potentially, but whatever. Doesn't matter. It's just a programming problem. So now we're going to say our boolean here is equal to n mod 3. Let's actually put that in parentheses just for my own sanity, and I think it looks cleaner this way. Cool. So now we're going to run that once, and now we're going to run it twice. This will actually potentially speed up our time because, just give me one moment and we'll discuss it. There we go. So essentially what I'm going to do here is I'm going to replace these 4 calculations with just 2. In theory, this should lower our time because in our if statement here, we're doing 1, 2, and 3 calculations. We're doing 1 calculation here and another calculation here. Total of 5. My idea here is, why are we calculating this twice? We already know the answer. And this is something you should really take into your own code when you get the chance, is if you have to calculate it more than once and the answer won't change, calculate it once at the beginning of your program and then use that variable throughout. That way you're using less compute time. Now in this situation it doesn't matter as much because yeah, it's 30, it's just gonna be a few milliseconds, right? Who cares about a few milliseconds? But in the future, your problem may be larger. You might have to be doing a database call or a larger calculation that adds up after a while, right? So instead, let's just do is multiple of 3. And our other one is multiple of 5. This is a lot easier when I can just hit tab and it'll auto-complete the text for me. Is multiple of 5. Yeah, helps if I type it right. There we go. Is multiple of 3, is multiple of 5. Let's throw that back on there. That looks good. Let's make our life a little easier here and just copy paste it this time. Oops. Copy paste it this time. So yeah, rather than checking again, we're just going to use the value that we know hasn't changed. Because there's no reason to do it more than once. It wastes compute time, makes your program run a little bit longer, and it's less efficient, right? It's all about efficiency these days. All right, so now we're just using our pre-calculated numbers there. Let's throw a space there for cleanliness. Is it not going to let me check again? I thought it would. Huh. Hang on, let's copy paste that and reset the page. Not sure why it's not letting me check it again to see if I can get it faster. Cool. All right, now let's do it. Now let's just hope there's no syntax errors here. So let me pull up my notepad while we're waiting. Our old score was 35.88 milliseconds, and what did I typo? This is the danger doing stuff like this. What is it mad about? Variable is multiple of 5. Ah, did I typo it? Let's try this. Oh, look, changed. Aha! That's what I did. I didn't capitalize the O in one of them. So, in doing that, we've saved about 1.4 milliseconds. That's good enough for me. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. And please remember to join our Discord channel, our Discord server, if you're interested in tech news and tech discussions. Anyway, have a nice day.